There are stories that never need to be written down. They live in the land itself, in the wind that drags across the grasslands, in the cold that settles by the door late at night. Stories pass quietly, like warnings or apologies. The banshee is one of these stories. It's not a ghost, nor a demon, not something you summon or banish or stand against with holy words and steady nerves. She is the messenger, and when she comes, she does not come for you. She comes for the name that she carries. There was a village outside Kilmacow once, just an ordinary place. Cottages leaning slightly under the rain, fields marked by stone walls, built by hands long returned to the dirt. In that village lived a woman named Bridget, a widow. Her husband had died in a quarry accident years before, crushed beneath the collapsing shale. Bridget carried that grief the way the Irish weather carries the cold, not loud, just constant. Her son, Finn, was all she had left. He was a strong lad, worked the fields, but he was quiet, much like her. Only one night, Finn didn't return home. Bridget lit the lamp, set it in the window, and waited. Hours passed. The rain came in from the east, thin and sharp, and then, from the hedgerow beyond the field, she heard it. A sound that didn't belong to any throat, born of flesh. Not crying, not exactly. A keening, thin and high. The sound of grief, stretched until it snapped. Bridget froze, her hands cold around the wick of the lamp. She knew that sound. Everyone knows it, even those who pretend they don't. She didn't go to the door. She didn't look. You don't look, because the banshee is not something you see. She is something you recognise. Her weeping is a memory, ancestral, older than language, older than the green rock of the island itself. And when she keens, someone is already lost. At dawn, they found Finn's body by the river. The bank had given way in the night. He never even had time to shout. Bridget did not cry. She had already heard her mourning. The banshee had done her work. Not cruelly, not with malice, just simple inevitability. That is the truth of her. The banshee is not a murderer. She is not the cause. She is the announcement. A final courtesy from the other world. A warning that grief is coming, and it cannot be outrun. Think of the next time you hear a fox scream in the hedgerows, or the wind slip beneath the slates of the roof in the small hours of the morning. Not every cry in the dark is just the night turning over in its sleep. Some things are speaking, not to the world, but to you. And if you ever hear that thin, breaking wail outside your window, know this: it is not a calling for help, it is a calling in name. And you pray, with every part of yourself that remembers warmth, that the name is not yours. There is a road that runs between two villages, though neither will claim it now. Just a long, bending strip of gravel and dirt, cut between high hedges and blackthorn. It looks like any other boreen in the countryside, but there are places in Ireland where the land feels watched, observed even, as if the world is holding its breath. That road is one of them. People say the puka walks there. Now, the puka is not a ghost, nor a demon, not a spirit of the dead or the damned. The puka is alive, in its own way. It belongs to the Ishi, the folk beneath the hills, but it does not stay among them. It moves, it watches, and it chooses. The puka is a shapeshifter, but not in the way that stories tell of wolves and moons. No, its shape is meaning, symbol, and warning. Most say it takes the form of a horse, tall, black, with eyes too bright and too knowing, a mane that moves even when the wind is still. Other times, a goat, a hare, a dog with a human's patience beneath its stillness. But always, always the eyes are wrong. There was a man named Podrick not long ago, a drinker, but a harmless one, the type who carried sadness around like old smoke on a coat. Everyone has known someone like him. One night, he walked that road alone, heading home after leaving the pub too late, and too heavy-hearted to care who saw. The moon was thin. The hedges seemed to lean close to the road, almost as if they were listening. And ahead of him, in the middle of a path, stood a horse, black, still, and watching. Podrick stopped. The horse did not move, did not stamp, did not breathe, just watched. And Podrick, in the soft, tipsy logic of the lonely, said, "Alright then." He stepped closer, the horse lowering its head, not to threaten, but to welcome, just acknowledging him, and somehow Podrick felt it. The air around him had a weight, the way a dream does, the way grief does. The horse turned, slow, deliberate, and began to walk down the road. Podrick followed, because of course he did. After a time, Podrick began to speak about his father, about the things he never said, about the way that silence can choke a man just as surely as rope. The horse said nothing, but it listened. You must understand something. The puka does not trick for amusement. It does not deceive because it is cruel. The puka reflects. It takes the shape that reveals who you are when you are most unguarded. That night, the horse was not leading Podrick astray. It was leading him home, just not to the one that he expected. In the morning, they found Podrick's body in the ditch beside the road. No wounds, no violence, and no signs of struggle. Just a look in his face, like someone had spoken the truth at last. People argue about what happened. Some say the puka lured him to his death. Some say it guided him to peace he could not bear in the waking world. But here's the truth. The puka is not good, and it is not evil. It is honest. And honesty is something humans are rarely prepared to face alone. If you ever find yourself walking a country road at night and an animal stands waiting for you, too still, too silent, and too aware, do not speak to it, do not follow, do not meet its eyes, because the puka does not harm you. It shows you yourself, and there's some truths that we just aren't meant to survive. There are places no map bothers to name, hollows in the earth where the ground dips just slightly, where the grass grows a little bit thicker and a little darker, where hawthorn trees stand alone, as if nothing else dares grow near them. You've seen them, even if you didn't realise it, passing by in the car, looking out the window, feeling that little shiver of something ancient watching over you. Those places belong to the Ishi. They're not fairies, not in the sugar-coated storybook sense anyway. The Ishi are the people of the mounds. They're the ones who lived here before us, the ones who did not leave. They just simply stepped sideways, into the hill, and into the mist, and into the places the world forgets to look. There was a farmer named Killian once, a practical man, hands like an old rope. He didn't believe in stories or signs. He believed in work and weather and the stubborn weight of the land. On his property stood a lone hawthorn tree, twisted, grey, older than the house and the fields, and older than any name spoken nearby. His wife said they should leave it be, and everyone in the village said the same. That's a she tree, don't touch it. Killian would always laugh at that, and one spring morning, tired of working around its roots, he took out an axe and cut it down. He stacked the wood, burned the branches, and flattened the ground. He began to plant barley where it had stood, a clean and efficient job. But that night, the wind changed, not in sound, nor in direction, but in its intention. The air outside the house, feeling aware now, as if something was waiting, just beyond the door. Killian's wife would not sleep near the window. She said she heard voices in the hedge, whispering too close, not words exactly, but meaning. Killian told her it was nonsense. The next day, the barley sprouted, too fast, too green, growing as though it had been waiting. By the third day, it withered, every stalk, all at once. A field reduced to pale, rotted threads, no disease, no blight, just refusal. The land was saying, this was not yours to take. People imagine they she as tricksters, mischievous and playful, but they're not. They are a parallel civilization, a nation beneath the soil, a memory of what the world was before humans named things. They don't hate us, they simply do not acknowledge our claim to this place. We are the trespassers, the temporary tenants, the noise that will eventually fade. They, she, do not punish out of cruelty. They act out of balance. Something taken must be replaced. Something broken must be mended. Something disturbed must be quieted. And sometimes the only way to quiet a life is to end it. Killian grew sick just before the autumn. No doctor could name the illness. He simply thinned, hollowed out, like the land itself had begun to reclaim him. His wife moved away after he passed. Nobody farms that field now. No animals graze there, and the soil never quite recovered. The hawthorn, though, that grew back, a single branch at first, then another, then twisted and grey, just as before, as if nothing had ever happened. There are parts of Ireland where the world is thinner, where the veil is not a curtain, but a breath. If you walk alone at dusk, past fields that dip and rise in slow ancient rhythms, and you feel something watching, do not call out, do not acknowledge, don't offer a curiosity, because they are she do not take kindly to being seen, and they do not give back what they claim. Some doors, once opened, unfortunately do not close again. Not every spirit of the old world was hidden or subtle. Not every presence stayed behind the hedges, or beneath the soil, or in the quiet dark of lonely roads. Some walked the open fields, some stood beside rivers, and some stood beside light. The Morrigan was one of those. But do not mistake the word goddess for comfort. There's nothing gentle in her story, nothing warm, nothing that asks to be honoured. The Morrigan is not a figure of worship. She is a certainty. The certainty of endings, the certainty of conflict, the certainty that blood has always been part of the soil and always will be. There were wars in Ireland before memory, not the wars written in books, but the ones that left their shapes on the land, the way wind shapes the stone. And in those early wars, the Morrigan walked among the living, not to choose sides, not to guide, just simply to witness. Where men drew blades, she appeared, sometimes as a woman, dark hair, tangled like river reeds, eyes reflecting something older than grief, sometimes as a crow, perched above the dying, silent and waiting, but most often She came as the washer at the ford. There's a story told quietly in the West about a soldier returning home after long fighting, a village skirmish, meaningless in the end, but heavy in his bones. He came to a river crossing at dusk, mist rolling low along the water, the light going grey and thin, and there, knee deep in the stream, stood a woman, washing blood from her clothes. The clothes were not her own. She did not look up. She did not speak. She washed, slowly and methodically, as though the act mattered more than the world around her. The soldier stepped closer and saw the uniform in her hands was his, not the one he was wearing, but the one he would soon die in. The Morrigan does not kill. She does not strike the blow. She simply lets you see the truth of your ending. The soldier ran, and he did live for a time. Years passed. He grew old, his hair turning white. The memory of the river softened. But the day before he died, his daughter heard the sound of wings beating softly outside the window. Not loud, not threatening, just a presence, waiting. The Morrigan is not horror in the way monsters are. She is not a jump in the dark or a shadow in the doorway. She is the realization that life is not owed to you, that your breath is borrowed, that time is a debt that's always coming due. People fear death, but what they fear more is having to acknowledge it. The Morrigan makes you acknowledge it. She is the moment you understand that every story you've ever been told will end the same way, with silence. If you ever find yourself near a river at dusk and the air feels too still and the water too dark, and you see someone standing in the shallows, do not call out, do not look closely, do not try to help, because she is not there for you, not yet, but she knows your name, and someday you will hear it spoken in the soft beating of wings. There are hungers we speak of openly: food, comfort, shelter, and company. And there are hungers so quiet, so private, that we barely admit them to ourselves. The hunger to be wanted, to be seen, to be held in someone else's mind as something precious. The Glencanna lives in that hunger. His name means the love talker, but love is not what he brings. He appears as a beautiful young man. Not perfect, not unreal. Perfect would be unbelievable. No, he looks like someone who might sit beside you on a bus, or stand near you in a shop, or lean against a stone wall outside the pub at dusk. A face that is familiar, but better than a memory wants to admit. Always with a pipe between his fingers, not lit, just held, as though the act of leisure is part of the lure. He never forces, never pursues. He simply waits for you to notice him. And you will. There was a woman named Maeve. She lived alone on the edge of a lake, where the water sat still and black, like something withholding its reflection. She was not lonely exactly, just unseen. Life had passed her by in small, forgettable ways. Days tending to chores, weeks turning into seasons. Not unhappy, but just quiet. One evening, walking the lake shore, she saw him, leaning against an old willow tree, watching the water, as though listening to it breathe. He looked up, smiled, soft and knowing. May felt something move in her chest that she thought had long since gone. They spoke, not of grand things, small things, weather, the lake, the way time slips when no one marks it. His voice was gentle, His eyes held attention like a hand holds warmth. And when she left him that night, she was thinking of him. When she woke in the next morning, she was still thinking of him. When she boiled water for the tea, when she swept the floor, when she looked out at the lake, she thought of him. Not with excitement, not with joy, but with a yearning, a subtle ache, like a bruise forming beneath the skin. The Glen Canna does not steal your life. You give it to him, piece by piece, without noticing the loss. You forget to eat, forget to rest. Your thoughts narrow to a single point. The want of being wanted. And Maeve, in her quiet house by the lake, began to fade. Neighbours said she was ill. Doctors said it was exhaustion, nerves, and malnutrition. But no one saw the truth. She was starving, but for someone who was truly never there. She walked the lakeshore every evening, hoping to see him again. And sometimes she did, but each time he smiled, she got thinner. Not in body alone, but in self, in presence, and in memory. She became less real to the world as he became more real to her. One morning, her door found open, her chair by the lake empty. Her footprint stopped at the water's edge. No struggle, no sign of panic, just a soft, resigned step as someone who has decided to follow the longing wherever it may lead. Some say the Glen Canna took her. Some say she gave herself to him. But here's the truth. The Glen Canna is not a thief. He is a mirror. He shows you the shape of the love you needed and could not name. And if that hunger is deep enough, you'll walk into the dark willingly. If you ever find yourself thinking of someone too often, someone who gives nothing, yet occupies your thoughts like a season that will not change, ask yourself, what are you starving for? And who benefits from the hunger? There is a kind of hunger that goes beyond the stomach, a hunger that lives in the bones, in the back of eyes, in the quiet of a house, after the last of the bread has gone, and there's nothing left to say. Ireland remembers that hunger, even if our bodies have long since forgotten. The land has not, and sometimes, when the hunger is remembered too sharply, it takes shape. The Fíor Gorta, the man of hunger. He is described as a figure, thin beyond reason, skin pulled tight, cheekbones sharp, eyes too large in their sockets. Not a skeleton, not a corpse, a living absence. He appears on empty roads, in fields where crops failed, near doorways where hands hover before knocking. He does not threaten, he does not chase, he simply stands and waits to be acknowledged. There's a story from Connacht, not old, not distant, passed in the way grief is passed, quietly, with a lowered voice. A family living on a small plot, stone house, peat fire. The year had been cruel, too much rain, not enough yield, children thin, mother tired, and father silent. One evening, as the light folded under the hills, someone knocked at the door. Not a fist, not a hand, a single, gentle tap. The father opened it, expecting a neighbour, but it was a man, if man is still the right word. Tall, but bent slightly, as though the world had been resting on his shoulders for far too long. His clothes hanging like they remembered better days, face hollow as a famine grave. He spoke, but not with sound. The father felt the words instead, like a memory returning uninvited. Have you food to spare? Not a demand, not a plea, just a question. And here's the part that matters. If you give the fear gorta food, even a scrap, you are blessed. Your fields recover, and your hunger passes. If you refuse, the hunger settles in your home, like a winter that does not leave. The father, looking back at his kitchen, there was barely enough for the children, barely enough for the night. He hesitated, and that hesitation was the cost. When he turned his back, the fear gorta was gone. The next day, the livestock sickened. The day after, the father did. By winter's end, only the mother and one child remained. The house still stands, but nobody touches it. The fields never grew green again. The fear gorta he is a memory. A scar the land refuses to let heal. He is the question asked in every dark season. Will you share what little you have, or will you hold it tight and starve with it? We are taught to fear hunger, but hunger is just emptiness, a space waiting to be filled. The fear gorta is what happens when the emptiness learns to walk. So if you travel alone at dusk and you see someone standing by the roadside, thin, still, and quiet, and they raise their head as though they know your name, do not turn away. Offer something, anything. Even a word of kindness can be a kind of nourishment, because hunger is not always about food. Sometimes it is about being seen. And if you refuse the starving, in whatever form they come, then the hunger does not leave. It simply chooses a new home.